Hey, what's up guys, it's Carl. And if you weren't compelled to screech about how unqualified I am to be telling airsofters why they're bad at airsoft, you certainly will be after today's video, because I'm going to talk about why you are bad at room clearing and CQB, and you're gonna be mad. Just kidding. Or am I kidding? Honestly, I don't even know anymore. No, but for real, CQB in Airsoft, and specifically clearing rooms, is another area where most of us probably don't have any experience with it, and most of us probably aren't drilling the tactics that will make you better at it. So again, just as with all of my other videos, it's an area where I see room for improvement, and I wanted to touch on it. No, but in all seriousness, room clearing and CQB in Airsoft is probably another one of those areas where most of us have a lot of room for improvement, myself included. And again, this is not going to be exhaustive, but I do have a few quick tips that I do think that you can utilize, maybe practice, and improve your own personal skill set. Before we jump into that, though, I did want to try and kill two birds with one stone. I do try and chat with you guys in the comment sections of these videos as much as possible, but one recurring question that I get on almost every video that we put up is, what is the best gun for XX price range? And that's typically not a question that I like to get into in the YouTube comment section, just because you could go so many different places with it. And it's also a little bit outside of my forte. I've been doing this for so long, I kind of find it hard to relate to the beginning players sometimes. So I did real quick just want to feature the gun that I am going to be using in today's video. So the gun that I'm going to be using to demonstrate the CQB tactics that I want to cover today is going to be one of the new Apex Fast Attack M4s. Now, even as a crusty old, salty guy that's been around the block, these are pretty impressive, especially for the price point. Most of the models are going to fall between about $100 to $200, and there are a lot of different variants within that range. The lower end ones are going to be polymer guns that do come, with a stock sort of standard M4 rail. This is one of the 712 full metal versions, does have a key mod rail on the front, but performance out of the box is actually surprisingly good. Especially, again, like I said, for the price point. All of them are going to come with flat triggers, so you get a nice, snappy trigger response out of it. And they've all got the new Classic Army flash hiders that allow you to attach this polymer mock suppressor, which should be coming in soon as well. All of the guns are going to come with a rotary hop-up unit, and once you get it dialed in, you should be shooting pretty spot on. Realistically, I don't see a reason to go with any of the other brands sort of in this price range, maybe like the Lancer Tacticals or the G&G Combat Machines. When you look at what you're getting out of the Apex guns, performance internally is going to be very comparable, if not a little bit better, just because that flat trigger is going to give you a really snappy response, like I said. And we do have battery and combo packages for them as well. So if your price range is maybe $100 to $200, you're looking to hop in with something that you can just go out and play with, or maybe you're curious about how a gearbox works and you want something that's not going to break the bank, that maybe you can put some upgrades in, or just kind of figure out what a mech box looks like and how it works. Honestly, check out the Apex guns. They're pretty solid. Now, as always, here is Uncle Carl's disclaimer. I'm not in the military, and CQB skills are not going to be something that you pick up overnight. Again, take my opinion with a grain of salt. The guys that are doing this in real life have to train constantly to make this stuff second nature so that they get that flow down naturally. Now, best case scenario, maybe you think about this video and you go out with your squad or your team and you practice this stuff, because I do think that the fundamentals are important and it's going to make you a better player. So let's go get into it. So I've got Mike out here to help me demonstrate some of these points. Now, for our purposes, Mike is going to be the one man. Point number one is that the one man is never wrong. If the one man goes into the room and you are not immediately behind him, he's going to die, and you may as well not even try to take the room at that point. If Mike goes in and I'm not paying attention, I need to be right behind him, or else that's gonna happen. I don't know if you can see that. So ideally, my role as the second man in the stack is going to be determining when the point man goes. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do this, but this is a really common way. The two man is going to control and let the one man know when everyone else is ready. And it looks something like this, where I'm behind him. You want to get real friendly with him. And give him a little bit of bump in the back of the leg. That's going to signify that the entire stack is ready to go. So if you notice how we made entry into that room, Mike immediately J-hooked into this corner and cleared it, and I drove to the right, cleared that corner, and then pivoted on the enemy in the room. So that brings me to my next point, which is cutting up the room, slicing the pie, whatever you want to call it. It's what people probably talk about the most in CQB. However, a lot of airsofters will enter a room and all stream in with their guns pointed the same direction, and I'm going to show you why that's a bad idea. Alright, cool, we got that guy in front of us, but if you notice, we got fixated on him. We saw him as soon as we entered the room, and we both engaged him. However, we got this guy in the corner. Neither of us bothered to clear that corner, and now we're probably both dead. If you had more guys in the stack and they all did the same thing, they're dead too. So if you notice, the key to flowing into a room with the squad in CQB is going to be peeling right and left. You never want to go the same way that the person in front of you went. The key point here is going to be consciousness about where the person in front of you is going into the room. Now, every room is going to be different, and very rarely will you know the layout of it before you enter it. So knowing where your teammate is going so that you can peel off in the opposite direction is going to make sure that you have the best chance of survival when you enter a room and clear all of the dead spaces as quickly as possible. Now, if we had a 3 and a 4-man behind us, they would be going the opposite direction as well until you have everyone in the room. Now, this isn't an ideal situation or area to demonstrate this because there's so much stuff in it. This is a dumpster. However, if the room were open and square, everyone would fan out as they entered the room and all drive towards the farthest corner. Point number 3, the fatal funnel. The absolute worst part of the room to be in at any given time is going to be the doorway. If the defenders know you're coming, they're going to have all of their guns trained on that specific point. You absolutely cannot stall in the fatal funnel in the doorway. So the standard airsofter inclination a lot of the time is to pause in the doorway and engage whoever is directly in front of you. And I understand that this is going to be made a little bit more complicated by whatever rules for dying might be in effect at the game that you're playing. Some games you fall down and you have to, go to the floor. Sometimes you just raise your hand, but you need to drive into that room. Do not pause in this doorway, or else all of the guns that are outside that are going to help take these guys out don't get into the room and the whole attack fails. Now, most of the points that I'm talking about today are going to be most applicable in a mout type situation where you actually need to move from building to building and clear it out room by room, presumably with a squad. But it's going to be the aggression, the violence, and the force that you bring into a room all at once, hopefully coordinated if you are actually practicing this stuff, that is going to guarantee that you are successful in taking that room. Exerting the level of force required to actually take a room in a situation like that is a point that I see airsofters fail on consistently. So I hope you all take it to heart. Don't take offense, but learn how to do it better. Realistically, it's airsoft. Get in the room, you're gonna get shot. We've all been shot before. There's nothing to be afraid of. You go back to region, you figure it out. But I guarantee you, if you practice exerting that level of violence when you come into a situation like this, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna catch the defenders off guard, just because that's not typically how most airsofters play. So I hope that these tips have been helpful, but again, remember, it's a topic that is incredibly deep, and we're just barely scratching the surface of it with the topics that we've covered today, but I do believe that these are some of the fundamentals, and if you start drilling these with your squad or your teammates, you're going to end up just being a much better player for it. I did want to thank everybody who in the comments section from last week's video gave me some ideas for what you want to see covered. CQB was one of those topics from last week, and it's what I decided to do this week. So let me know what you want to see me tackle next week, and I'll take it into consideration. If I feel like I can contribute to it, I'll do it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hope you have seen how well these Apex guns shoot, surprisingly. Check them out. I'm Carl, this is GITV, and I'll see you next week.